With the rise of podcasts, narrative storytelling, and role-playing adventures online, there was a resurgence in demand for original stories in the audio format, akin to radio plays of old. With the plot twist entwined in mystery and deceit, one of these newly produced stories is the subject of this episode. Focusing on its cast and creator, we delve into the story of the creation and inspiration, the journey of its voice actors, and its production. Speaking with the members of the radio drama Valmont, the Black Raven Chronicles, I get some more insight on the individuals bringing an original story to life and their passion and dedication to this project and mi comunidad. So welcome back to the ESL sessions on this, another episode of En mi comunidad, in my community. And on today's episode, I actually have 3 guests in one sitting. And it's a really special interview because I was actually giving their information and they're here today because of the assistance of one of my prior service members, Jacqueline Burns, who is actually the voice director for their radio drama and one of the voice actresses inside their project itself. But before we get into any more details and anything specific, before I start asking any questions, I'll go ahead and actually turn it over to the showrunner and 2 of the cast members to be able to get them to do a little brief introduction, and then we'll go ahead and get to know them before we actually jump into the story of the radio drama itself. So whenever you're ready, Jonathan.
Hey folks, I'm Jonathan Miller. I am the Carolina storyteller, podcaster, and I'm the creator and director of Valmont, the Black Raven Chronicles. I also voice Agent Black. I got forced into it.
Gotcha. And then turning it over to Adele.
Hello, I'm Adele Valentine, and I am a voice actress on the Black Raven Chronicles. I voice Samantha Morningstar, a girl boss lawyer taking down the baddies, and I also voice Lucifer.
Gotcha. And finally, but not last, obviously, Mr. David Whitney.
Hi, everybody. I'm David. I'm a voice actor on the Valmont Black Raven Chronicles. Sergeant Klein, Samael, who happens to be a demon king, Uriel, which happens to be an angel, and Jerome, which happens to be probably one of the most unusual characters. He's one of the antagonist's cousins. So it's fun, and I also do sound production.
Interesting. So yeah, so as I mentioned initially, both with obviously the exception of Jonathan being the creator of the show itself, everybody has a role. You guys are all involved in the production of the radio drama itself. So before we actually get into the show and what it actually takes to produce a radio drama in 2025 with the resurgence of audiobooks and a lot of auditory adventures, we'll go ahead and just get some information on everybody. So David, if you can go ahead and let me know, where are you originally from? And how did you get into voice acting? If we can get a little bit of your background.
Originally from Youngstown, Ohio. Originally got into voice acting. I started off going to college for theater, and I was told I wasn't good looking enough to make it in Hollywood or anything. So, but I always had a voice. You know, I always like singing. I always like doing different things, and just kind of started doing different characters and voiceovers for stuff, and I eventually started working in radio, and I was doing all sorts of different commercials. And but you know, during that time when it all started, it was, you got to know somebody, or you're going to be out in California, you're going to be in New York type thing like that. And with the way the world has come with digital media and everything, it has really allowed me to expand on being a voice actor and doing the things I absolutely enjoy.
Gotcha. Yeah. And from what I said, what I've listened to on the radio drama itself, there is a variety and levels of talents in there that you're seeing in a lot with the podcasts and stuff. But turning it over to Adele, what can you tell us about your start and how you got into voice acting?
Well, I'm originally homegrown in Maine, out in Colorado now. Love it here. It's great. But I always wanted to get into voice acting, but just like David said, never found the right avenue for it. But I've always been like, I'm a huge nerd. I play a lot of like tabletop role-playing games and stuff like that. And that was always kind of the place where I brought characters to life and gave them a voice, so to speak. So, um, and then I met Jonathan through Jacqueline, actually. And it was there that we started talking to each other about our own passion projects and kind of reignited those passions. And then we started recruiting people for Valmont, and I was actually the first one on the project. So
Oh, really? Yeah, really interesting. Everybody kind of has, I guess, even all of us at this point now, we all have a generalized connection to Jacqueline, kind of like a ley line, a bit of a ley line to her. But before we continue, let's get some words in from Jonathan himself, the actual sorry about that, the actual showrunner and the creator of the Valmont Chronicles.
So, I had a past before when I was younger in radio, and I had done some things in theater and things like that. But then I had a career in emergency services for 2 decades, and I finally got back around to tapping my creative roots. I wrote a couple of books, and Valmont was always sitting there in the sidelines. And I actually went to Jacqueline and said, hey, I want to turn this into an audio drama. She had read the first few chapters of the book I was writing. She didn't like the first few chapters, but she liked the idea of the story. And I said, I want to turn this into an audio drama. And I wrote the scripts. She connected me with members of the cast, and it's just snowballed from there. It was finding the right people at the right time, of course. I already had a podcast going, and we just moved in. I'm originally from South Carolina. I've spent 20 years in emergency services, but I've always had this drive to be creative and to do these things. And now I'm getting the chance to do it, and I'm doing it with great people, and Valmont is the product of these people coming together.
No, I can definitely speak to that. So, like I mentioned before, I haven't fully been able to finish the current slate of the episodes that you guys have out. As of, I want to say this week, you guys have still 7 episodes out. We're still waiting for episode 8, correct?
Actually, episode 8 dropped this morning.
This morning, and there you go.
Out right now. So
wow.
8 is now out. 9 will be coming at the beginning of August, and we're running this season till 12.
Gotcha.
And then we'll take a break, and then we'll start season 2.
Gotcha. So yeah, so like I said, I literally just missed episode 8, and like I said, I've been kind of just within the week and a half with us setting up this interview. I've been listening to it, and you know, it really does bring me joy listening to a lot of the voices in there. And then I can understand the differences between time changes and level of equipment, but it's no different than most of a lot of the passion projects that are out there. Just kind of as an example, one that really comes to mind is the the D&D tabletop game. I forgot. I'm literally
Critical
blanking.
Role?
There you go. Critical Role. Yes. So
of course Adele knows it.
No, but it's interesting because, like I said, I also got late into what do you call it, tabletop games. But a lot of the way that the story kind of just flows and the characters are brought to life in the show itself just keeps reminding me, like, man, this could have been a campaign, or this is probably something that was thought up ahead of time with some specific details changed and just a little bit of tightening up here and there. But before we get into that, and I wanted to ask each one of you guys individually. So aside from David himself being a actual student in theater, nobody else in the what do you call it? None of you, either Jonathan or Adele, have other training in the arts or in theaters, correct?
Nothing formal for me. I was always a singer. I was like self-taught singer, so and I always like to make funny voices and just be very silly. So manipulating my voice is something that just always came naturally for me. And I'd love to have formal training, but in the meantime, I'm still gonna have fun and do cool projects.
Gotcha. And then you, Jonathan?
Well, I had a small amount of formal training. I was a big drama geek in high school. I actually went to competitions for things like monologues and radio broadcasting. I actually worked at a radio station in high school. I actually worked at theaters. I did some behind the scenes stuff, but when it came time to choose a career, I chose public service over acting and creating. So they were my two passions, and I picked one over the other. So it's been a minute since I've had any training, but I did have some, and now I'm learning the rest as I go along.
Gotcha. And then for you, David, so this one is a little bit more specific to you. In your entire time frame, just being involved in the arts and the theater, have you received or have you actually gone through any other, I guess, professional opportunities? Like you said, not so much just working in Hollywood, but in like major productions, either major local productions or just national productions, whether they have been in radio, theater, or screen itself, or on the screen itself.
Majority of the stuff I've done is like small stuff. I've helped out some independent film artists that are in the Dayton area that I happen to be in with a few of their projects. I've also helped some local bands with producing albums, things of that nature. But I've not really branched out to do anything bigger. It's always probably more that fear of rejection type thing, or keeps going back in my mind, not good looking enough to do this. So, but at the same time, it's like I not to brag or boast, it's like I'm very well versed in my talents and capabilities, and working on Valmont has really brought to light and built that confidence that's like, hey, you're good at this.
No. And he really is.
No, and really is. It is. It's very true.
He's done a fantastic job.
Thank you.
He started working on the episodes, I think, with episode 5.
Yeah.
And you can see the change and see things are getting. We've had some hiccups. It's all been a learning curve for us, but David's been doing really good, and it's been getting progressively better.
No, yeah, and like I said, going even through my first listen, like I said, I've as an avid consumer of audio, I've done a slew of listening, just like a lot of people have, and you can definitely see a lot of the changes in the progressions, especially like as you said, as you start introducing new characters and getting them involved. You get to see, like I said, this isn't a criticism, it's an observation of a lot of, you can see the different levels of talent, like I said earlier, but the passion is there. The drive to be able to bring that character to life in that moment, it exists. So even though sometimes it does seem outside perspective, like I can tell you guys from me, even starting the podcast in itself, is that same doubt David had, is you kind of get on those outward looks and you kind of have that feeling of like, well, this isn't going to work. It's not really a good thing that I'm doing it. But then you start getting the random notices, the random praises of people that you would have never thought, or somebody that for sure you've never met. And then here you are, you guys are telling the stories. And one thing that I actually did note that Jacqueline had mentioned, you guys were actually both featured on a spooky podcast shout out, correct?
Yeah. Spooky podcast did a shout out for us, and I was like, wait, what? Like I actually emailed the guy. I was like, thank you so much, because I just occasionally I Google the show just to see if anybody's talking about it. And a couple of weeks ago I Googled it, and here it is, another podcast, and it's like, hey, I'm introducing this show. You guys have got to listen to it. I've been listening to it. It's really good. And he plays episode 1 for his listeners. And I'm like, I don't know if most people would be upset with that, but I was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you did this. This made me feel amazing just seeing it. And I shared it with everybody. I was like, guys, look at this. We're getting shares.
Oh yeah. And the one thing that I can say, both within both just audio production in general and radio dramas, not in the conventional way, are really, really seldom heard about unless you actually delve into it. It's a very, very niche market, but it's also a very niche hobby. With the advent of everybody wants to be a streamer, everybody wants to be a video podcaster, and everybody now has a podcast about, hey, let's talk about this lamp. But here you guys are literally bringing an entire original story to life with inspirations within. And like I said, I want to say both the Blade universe, Blood Rain, and a whole bunch of other stuff within current reworks, like in the Interview with the Vampire, like that brand new redux of the movie from 1995 with Brad Pitt. So it's like I said, and then to get a shout out like that from what do you call it, a podcaster, somebody in the community that has a little bit of extra information, well, not information, a little bit of extra influence, gives you guys an extra boost that seldom a lot of people really don't get.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the fact that it was completely off the set, they didn't contact us or say anything. They were just like, we like this, we want to share this. That really, it made me feel good. And honestly, all the guys I work with are so great. I mean, every single one of them that's on there, just, regardless of talent level, they give everything for nothing,
Yeah, definitely. Natural discovery is one of those things that is rare, especially in an up and coming show like this. But speaking now on the production side of the show, let's turn it over to Adele. So with voice acting, and then I'll ask you guys each individually this question: is how do you prepare to be able to bring your characters in the show itself right before you sit down to record your voice lines, right before you go ahead and you press record for your current session of that episode?
I will often kind of do like a random off the cuff kind of monologue as the character, like talking to anybody about anything, and just kind of get into that speaking range of where that character's at. Lucifer was a lot easier for me to find that voice for. Samantha took a lot more work, and I actually had to sit down and like really work with Jackie extensively to because she's got that Southern in her. So she kind of trained me to do that, and make it sound a little bit better than how I was, because I wasn't exactly happy with my performance in episode 2. So I wanted to up my game moving from there. So I do a lot of practicing as the character just randomly in my day sometimes. And then I'll do that before I sit down to actually record as well.
Yeah, you can definitely see a lot of that voice direction. And then turning it over to you, David, how do you prepare for, now that you're on from episode 5 on, how has it been, that preparation, trying to get into the characters and bringing them to life?
I pretty much take the same route as Adele, to the point of where I annoyed my wife to death one day. I needed to, for episode 2 with Sergeant Klein's first appearance, and I spent about a good hour researching South Carolinian accents, because everybody has a stereotypical Southern accent, but there's something about North Carolina, South Carolina, different parts of the country, different type of accents. And I was listening, and the entire day I went around speaking in a South Carolinian accent until I was happy with what I had coming out. And then I opened up the microphone and started laying down the lines, but annoyed my wife to no end. I mean, she was like red in the face to the point of where it's like, can you please stop talking like that? So as far as the other characters, Samael was, for me, fairly easy. It was basically, the extended version of Lord of the Rings, where has the guy come out from the black gates with a really sharp, pointy teeth and stuff like that. Kind of, took my death metal voice and kind of that like high, gargly pitch that he had, and combined it for that. Uriel is just myself in a lower timbre, and Jerome was fun. I'm sitting there trying to put together somebody, kind of give him a little bit of a Louisiana type accent, Bayou and stuff like that, but I wanted it to be a little bit more fluid, and I got as low as I possibly could, and what came out, I feel, was just amazing. And, when it comes to the production, putting the stories together, being a writer myself, like John, it's not about putting everything where it needs to go and just, here's the words, here's the background. It's telling the story. You've got somebody walking on wet pavement, you want to hear them walking on wet pavement. It's just going in and telling that story. You may only get like, all the dialogue, for a 25-minute episodes, maybe 12, 15 minutes at most. But I'm extending those episodes out by trying to get in what's going on around. You want to hear the background. You want to hear what's actually happening all over the place. So you have to tell that story.
Yeah, very true. And you guys, and in like the sound production in itself, you guys really do bring in that little extra flair that you hear with the way that the atmosphere is built up. Like the footsteps going down into the sewers, listening to what do you call it? That adding that little extra into it when you hear somebody kind of on the back of the room and it sounds that far distant in comparison to like some other shows where it's just like, well, this was an odd decision. Like I was thinking to myself listening, like this is a very odd decision putting them in the back of the room, but it's like, hey, that's very authentic to what you guys are doing. It's like it gives it that extra bit of authenticity to like you're a fly on the wall, but you're sitting in the middle of that room as a fly in the wall.
I forgot. I also voice one of the demons, Beelzebub. I forgot to mention that at the beginning.
No, you're fine. Yeah, whichever characters, like I said, is you guys bring a lot of life to it. So now turning it over to Jonathan with your characters and how each one of the actors themselves bring the characters to life that you've written. How do you prepare yourself for when you do your voice sessions, and how do you imagine their characters when right before you hear them do their lines, each one of the actors?
Well, I think it's a little bit different for me because I created the character. So when I'm in a character, first of all, I get into the mindset of the character, but I also know all the other character. I know their motive. I know everything. And I'm the writer, so I do know where everything is. And so when I'm getting into, and I do a couple of small voices, but typically I do Agent Black. And so all I've really got to do is get into that mindset of a gruffled agent that's been doing it for like, oh God, 40 years. And I've had to put up with all this crap. And now I've got to deal with all of this. Once I get into that mindset and I drop the voice, I'm just there. And God, oh my man, are you serious? They've got another vampire running around the city. And why is that werewolf over there peeing on a fire hydrant? I just dropped right into that mindset, but I created the character originally. So these are my OCs, as it were. These are my D&D characters, basically. It's easy for me because Agent Black's got a South Carolinian accent because I'm in South Carolina. He's just an extension of something that was in my head. So usually I set up the mic, I look at the script to make sure I remember what I wrote right, and then I just drop right into it. Agent Black with the Bureau of Anomalous Research and Defense, and you need to stand down now.
Yeah, no, that's as authentic as it can get. And like I said, I hear it. I hear that you hear that distinction. It's not just the voice being put up from how you normally sound. It's like there's been a bit of tweaking and actual extra care, like you said, them being your original characters and stuff. So with that though, sticking on the way that you guys are running your character and everything, do you guys all do a collective session, or does everybody record their own lines? And this is for Jonathan itself before I turn it over to David.
So what we actually do is we do what's called a table read together, and we get as many of the cast together in one collective session, and we go through the script every episode, and we try to record it. I've lost some of the recordings have gotten lost because we're using Craig, and I don't have the best systems. So, but when we do get them, we do drop them on the Patreon so people can listen to them and hear just how crazy it is before that original production. So we run through the scenes, we talk to each other. We give each other ideas and tips on how this scene should run. And then we each go and kind of record our own audio separately and bring it back together. And then it's handed over to the production team, which David's the third member of our production team that we've been through. We had Marshawn Fry started with us. He's with FBL Studios here in Charleston. He had some issues. He had to step away. I brought David in to help out. Nick Hankey was doing some work on it, and he had to step away, and now it's all on David. But David's been really doing a really good job running it and running with it and keeping us up to date and getting us on schedule. So he takes all of this data from the 16 different actors, cuts it all up and puts it all into places that it needs to be, and then adds the sound effects, and we have a finished product that we put out.
Yeah, and it's very well put together. And asking David this, as a audio production engineer at that point, and audio engineer, how do you manage putting all these pieces together when, say, you have a bad take, or say something doesn't feel like it fits correctly with the editing process or with the flow of the episode itself?
Usually that's when I go back to whomever's lines I need, ask them to re-record. We did have one for episode 8 that actually had to leave a small little line out. Didn't change the story or anything, but there was somehow the audio clipped on like 2 words, and it was just spaced enough to where I could remove that and then tie it together. So it usually goes into, coming back and asking all the voice actors, hey, I need this line redone, or hey, I hear something in here. Can you give me like a grunt, or can you give me something? And and usually everybody's pretty quick about getting it back to me, and I'll throw it in. Like I will just hear something like in the story that might actually be missing from the take, but as like this, a sound of disgust or a sound of whatever, it helps build that character. It helps give them meaning and stuff like that, and it opens up their personality to what's going on.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, and like I said, me doing this, having a prior aspirations to actually be a music artist, and then going through that recording process, I can definitely understand and see that difficulty with it and trying to put it together. But turn it over to you, Adele. With that, do you provide any extra, an extra hand to be able to assist with things when you guys are doing either the table reads or something doesn't feel off in the production?
Try to speak up and speak my mind when I feel like a certain line delivery is falling flat, or you can ask John this. I'll look at my lines and be like, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't sound right. And I'll just especially even during the table reads, I'll just change it on the fly to what I like. I don't usually change the content of the line. I'll just change the delivery of it, or perhaps the wording of it somehow, to try to make it sound more like how the character would be speaking, especially for Lucifer, because I have a very clear image of her in my mind of how she would speak and how she would carry herself. Aside from that, I was going through a lot of rough stuff last year, so I was slightly out of commission for quite a while, and I was still managing to get all my lines and stuff done. But I think when season 2 rolls around, I want to try to take a bit more of an active role in the actual production side of things, because I see David doing all of this work, and I'm I have the gear to help do some of this. I just need to learn how to do it.
Yeah, the production itself does take a while, and like I said, listening to you guys all talk about it, it really makes me even more excited to actually listen to the remainder of the episodes, and then as the episodes start to come out, get to just relearn a lot about what the story is going to go for. So this one is more kind of an opinionated question. So for myself, but also to you all, is so out of all the characters so far, and this one character truly grew on me throughout the entire process, is Leslie Chuckles and his crony, which I forget his name.
Frank. You're great.
Yeah.
Frank.
There you go. And I knew it was Frank. It's like, is that Frank or somebody? But yeah, but Leslie and Frank, just for the voice himself, is like, he's I understand he's not totally there. He's very naive. He's very naive and very, very easily manipulative. But Chuckles in himself, like that super Southern draw accent, like very Louisiana, very Bayou, which was kind of like, man, this is like, I the first time I listened to it, and this is, like I said, it sounds like a bad criticism, but it's like, I listened to it and I'm like, this is fake as hell. I cannot, I've been to Louisiana, I've been there, and then I listened to it, was like, no, that's very Southern, that's very Cajun. But he really grew on me. He really grew on me as a character, and like now every single time I hear Leslie, I'm like, oh, here we go. There's some crazy just things that are going to be coming out of this character's mouth. But to start it off with you, Jonathan, obviously I can't ask you to pick one of your favorite children. But if you could tell me so far out of your characters, either voiced or somebody else that has brought them to life, who do you actually, which one surprised you the most in the way that they aligned in the performance and in how you imagined the performance would be?
So I'm gonna call out, first of all, Leslie and Frank. They're voiced by the same actor.
Yeah, I heard that from the start. I'm just like, yeah. That's that tone switch too quick.
They're voiced by the same actor, and he does a wonderful job of bringing Leslie together. Leslie is one of my favorite characters. But I think the one that shines the most, the one that shines the most to me is Adele's portrayal of Samantha, because she brings that, Southern, bless your heart type of woman to life, with just that bit of attitude and that playfulness. And it's wonderful. It really is. I mean, I'm kind of amazed by many of the performances. I gave David Sergeant Klein as kind of a last minute, because the person I had playing Sergeant Klein kind of dipped, and David jumped onto it and nailed it. I was trying to find someone else to voice Agent Black, but apparently everybody likes my Agent Black. And I feel like with Corey doing a Frag, we lucked up so much.
He's really good.
Yeah. And then my son voices Dr. Johnson and Griff. So it's kind of a family affair there. And people that know him can't tell that that's his voice when he's doing Dr. Johnson.
Yeah, no, and like I said, it would be a lot to ask you to pick your favorite child, but I guess it actually does come back to you literally picked your favorite child, and it actually turns out to be your child.
Well, no, he's not. His voice with Dr. Johnson is not. He does such a good job with him.
No, it's like I said, that's more of a play on the joke itself.
I think Adele, with how she does Samantha, is one of the most outstanding performances that I see in the series throughout when I'm listening to, because they all send their lines. I listen to them and approve them before I send them off to David, who then does his thing and comes back and he's like, okay, this isn't working. We've got to do this. And every time I get Samantha sent to me, it's just a treat, Leslie Chuckles, Simon, that's just amazing. But Samantha, that character is always such a treat to listen to. Every time she walks into a scene, you hear that clack of those heels, and that Southern smooth voice comes out. It's just there,
Yeah, there's like a bit of an allure to it when you hear Samantha start speaking. and it makes that big of a difference in the scene itself.
And fun
It's
fact
almost like a
about her.
siren song.
Mm-hmm.
And fun fact about her, she didn't originally have that Southern drawl. John didn't write her with that in mind. And it just, when I was first doing the character, I was doing the lines normally, and I was like, I just feel like something's missing. I don't know what it is. And then I just tried on the Southern drawl, because at the time I was playing a character in a D&D game, it was like modern day and stuff, but she was a Southern gal. And I was like, let's try what I was doing with that character with this and see how that feels. And it just brought so much more energy and life to the character, and just brought that like attitude that was missing for her.
Yeah, very true. But before we get to you, Adele, let's ask David, so far, which has been your favorite character that somebody else has played?
Oh, I mean, I'm surrounded by so much talent. It's actually hard to pick. I can tell you my favorite sound effect when I was trying to come up with the transformation from human to werewolf form. I had fun doing this. I actually got to break up eggshells and crack celery and everything else for bones cracking. And I was having so much fun with that. It was great. And you haven't got to the episode yet, but you'll hear it. It's in the scene 1, I think, of episode 7 of transformation. Yeah, you're going to hear it right off the bat. And you're going to be like, that's awesome. That's just awesome.
No, a complete folio artist. That's the awesome part about it. And then that's one of the things too, is like, it's really, really rare that you hear anybody not mention the environment itself, because of how much it actually takes to be able to bring that portion of the production to life, is that extra world building of creating that atmosphere. So you know what? I'll give you a shout out for that one, David, because like fairly rare. That is rare for anybody to say, you know what? I just like how that the crunching sound of a transformation sounds like, or you know, the rain coming down on the window, and then that person sipping their coffee. Like, it's awesome, dude. It really is.
Yeah, and some of the dogs that you hear barking are my own. So
there you go, man. You even got them into production, dude. That's awesome. So turning it over to you, Adele. I mean, obviously you're getting all the praise for your portrayal of Samantha, but who do you want to give a shout out to that like really does stand out as a character in the show itself?
I think I'd like to give 2 shout outs. The first shout out I want to give to is to Corey, because honestly, without Corey, this production wouldn't be possible. Like, he's playing the main character and he does such a good job. Like, I can't imagine a Fraig's voice as anyone else now. It's his voice, because he's just given so much like depth to that character, and like he sounds like he's angry and pissed off all the time, because it's kind of like a Fraig's natural state. But if you like listen just a little bit deeper, there's always something else going on beneath the surface. You can always hear a Fraig's gears turning. He brings such a simplicity but such a complexity to the character at the same time, and it's great. The other person I want to give a shout out to is honestly Sylvie, for her portrayal of Gabriel, because it is just an amazing portrayal. Like, I am excited for the work that we're going to get to do together in episode 12, and I'm excited for everybody to see it.
Nice. No, yeah. And that's a lot of good things to be able to like recognize that one character out of your guys' favorite characters who you kind of pinpoint for those specific reasons. And you're right. Corey's character as Alfred, as being the main character, he does have that. There's that little very specific type of charm in the way that he does the voice acting for it, that he delivers that performance. And now I see it. Now I see it in how you mean with the way that he really is Alfred now. But with this portion out now, so you guys are closing in episode 8. You guys still have another 4 episodes left. For this one's more directed towards Jonathan, and then you guys can chime in as well. But how does the production look like after season 1. I know that Jacqueline, and I think you and Jacqueline had mentioned that the production will also be going into actual script and written. So how does that look like for the one with the completing of chapter 1 and getting I guess self-publishing in at the completion of it?
First of all, I'm completely stalled on writing from the script to the book. I've had some technical issues, so that's been stalled, but it is going to happen. It's in the process. I'm like chapter 6 or 7, which is basically still episode 2. But before I get into all that, I did want to give a shout out to 2 other characters. Adele mentioned Sylvie voicing Gabe, but this show wouldn't be nearly as good without its villains in the first season, and that's Kane and Senator Graham Kinsey, voiced by Sylvie, who also voices Gabe, and Josh Slavinik, who voices Senator Kinsey and Dr. Simmons. And those villains really build the show. And going forward, we already have half of season 2 written. I was working with Jackie last night on episode 7. We have a special episode that's coming up in season 2 where I can't exactly tell you what's going to happen, but Cash, the composer, who wrote Phantasmagoria and is writing a Lavanya Fisher musical here in Charleston, is going to be helping us. She's already writing a really great song for season 2, which in season 1, you'll notice we got the band Midgard to let us use their song Bring the Night. That's our opening credits and our ending credits. So season 2, we're going to have Cash the composer's song, hopefully, and that's going to be our opening and ending credits, and it'll kind of run a central theme throughout the season. New bad guys are coming. Revelations are going to be had. The secrets are going to get told, because even though you're going to find out the secrets well before most of the characters will, those characters still have to learn those secrets. So things that'll be discovered by the end of season 1 will start getting known in season 2, and then that'll just raise more questions, which will bring us in. And we've got a long road ahead of us for Afrag and company. There's a lot to be discovered. And that road is we're setting the seeds now in season 1 in the last half. And, there's a lot more to discover in the Black Raven universe.
Man, and so it does sound like production is going well. There's a lot of working parts to it, but there's maintenance being done on it so it doesn't stall. And that's the good thing about hearing one from somebody who likes to support independent media, especially, like I said, being an attempted former artist and knowing and recognizing how difficult it is to try to break into the industry, but at least knowing that you guys have that community behind you guys already. And for David, would you like to chime in on any extra information about the show?
The one thing I would like to chime in is there's going to be a Patreon exclusive. There's going to be Valmont shorts that are going to be coming out. EC Hart, who voices Leslie and Frank, happens to be a good friend of mine, one of my best friends. We actually have a podcast together. And, you're going to get a little bit of a backstory into Frank and Sergeant Klein, how far back their relationship actually goes. So there'll be some Valmont shorts coming out. Don't know if they're going to drop after season 1 or if they're going to drop before season 1 comes to a conclusion. But definitely be on the lookout for those.
Nice. Sounds awesome. And then what about you, Adele?
I don't know if I really have a whole lot to add, except to emphasize that there is a lot coming as far as the story goes, for season 2 and moving forward, season 2 and 3. I'm just very excited for everything to continue forward, and I'm looking forward to every step of the progress.
Yeah, no, and like I said, a big shout out to all of you for doing what you guys are doing. Like I said, it's bringing a lot of joy to what I can tell a lot of people. So, but to just, I guess, kind of close off the episode and thank you guys for coming on to the ESL sessions. I just kind of want to get a quick shout out for everybody. So if David, if you could let us know where we could find your podcast as well, to be able to give them a shout out, and then same thing if you have any personal projects that you're working on.
Yeah, so the podcast is Men Behind the Curtain, and you can find us on YouTube, all your streaming services through Spreaker, Spotify, things of that nature. Right now, personal projects, just working on Valmont, putting my time into that, and doing what I can.
And then over to you, Adele. Like I said, still being a part of the production, where can we find you? Where can, I guess, my listeners or anybody who stumbles on this episode be able to find you if you have any personal projects, or if you're working on anything specific for yourself?
At the moment, there's nothing currently going. I don't have any like podcasts or anything like that, but I do have a book series that is currently cooking. I'm most of the way through writing the first book in the rough draft, so that would be something to look for sometime next year.
Nice. Sounds awesome. Well, we'll see if we can actually bring you back once that comes in. I can listen to it and then maybe even interview both you, and then same thing, David, on a separate episode for your podcast.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. And then to you, Jonathan, to close it off. I mean, like I said, you're the showrunner. You already gave us the entire background on what the production looks like from, I'm guessing, up until the end of 2025, closing into like mid 2026 at the start of season 2. Do you have any other projects in mind, or anything more specific that you'd like to share, and then where any of the listeners can also find you?
So before I shout out my projects and everything, I want to shout out other members of the cast who couldn't be there, like Josh Slavinik. He has the Josh and Polly Show. You can find that wherever you listen to podcasts. You can look up Stevie Summers, who plays Sarah Klein, Sergeant Klein's daughter, and the detective. At Truth or Demons podcast. So she's out there. Of course, E.C. Hart and David, they have the Men Behind the Curtains podcast. Definitely check that out. My podcast is The Carolina Storyteller. You can catch me on anywhere that you look for podcasts, or you can go to The Carolina Storyteller on YouTube and get my podcast and Valmont both there, along with things that I transfer over from TikTok. And of course, you can go to Amazon and get either one of my books, Through the Flames or Redcoats, which is the horror novel that I wrote before I decided to turn Valmont into an audio drama. And we will be finishing up season 1. The plan is to drop episode 11 October 1st, but episode 12 we're going to drop October 31st for Halloween. And that's going to be the end of season 1. Like I said, we're going to take a little bit of a break, give everybody some time off because it's been a heck of a year. And then we're going to come back hardcore with season 2 in January.
No, that's awesome. So yeah, so your guys' roadmap literally looks filled out, and it looks like it's ready at least for you guys to take a break. And from me to all of you, I definitely wish you guys a lot of success in this, because like I said, the show has potential. It's been from episode 1 up until where I'm currently at, episode 5, no spoilers or nothing. It's very interesting, and it's got me gripped. It does have me gripped. I can't say it doesn't. Just to try to make the sense of the story itself. It makes a big difference. But before closing it off, one, I'd like to go ahead. Thank you, David, for all the information about the production itself, and as well, and being a new welcomed addition to since episode 5. To you, Adele, for bringing life to Samantha, which, like I said, very characteristic, very spectacular, and everybody has praises for you. And then to you, Jonathan, for being the showrunner and creator, and allowing me to one, meet 2 of your cast members on this. What was I was expecting just a one-on-one, but I love it. I do love to get more people.
I could get anybody in here, so I drugged them in. Kicking and screaming.
He did.
I swear.
Oh no!
But I do want to add one thing. You're only on episode 5.
Oh yeah.
You're still on the hill of the roller coaster. Wait till the dip.
Exactly. So like I said, I like I said, no spoilers. I don't want anything. I will get to that before the release of episode 12, or even if I have to do a binge listen from episode 6 on the 31st to wait for that episode, I will definitely listen to it. Yeah. So with that, then again, we're gonna go ahead. We'll close it off. Thank you all for coming to the ESL sessions on this another episode of En Mi Comunidad, in my community. And I want to go ahead and give you guys a final shout out to all of you. Keep doing what you guys are doing and keep bringing these stories to life. Thank you very much.
Thank you
for having us.
Thank you.